You get to listen to me talk a little bit about some of my life story of wood turning and ornamental turning.
Yeah.
I worked for the Postal Service for 37 years, so started out as a hobby, but I'll take you along the journey.
For the Postal Service or Wood Service?
Postal Service, Wood
Raising a
Service.
family.
I did like to go up into the redwoods and collect wood up there when I was younger, but I stopped doing that. This is my part of my journey, and I clicked it, and nothing happened that time.
Did you right-click it?
Right-clicked it.
Is it on? Press it good.
Thank
Just a
you.
loose nut on the controls.
This is the first lathe that I owned, and it was made by my grandfather, and it's actually a few pillow blocks on angle iron on 4x4s. And I have a flap sander on there, and those are the tools that I got with it. He gave it to me when I was about 8 or 10 years old, somewhere around there. My father built me a bench to stand on, to work on it. And I made a few things with it, but not much. A few little miniature baseball bats is what I actually made. And this is the first bowl I ever made. It's made out of Doug fir, which is a nice wood. You can see it's been glued up out of 3 pieces, and it's come apart probably twice, and I've glued it back together. And I still keep it. It's in the closet, but it's a relic. After that, let's try it. Okay, I started turning wax. I made candles, poured them into tubes, and then I put them on the lathe, and that wax turns so smooth, it's unbelievable. It just shears right off.
It doesn't dull the tools either, all that.
Doesn't do it. The tools stay sharp forever. The only problem I had with these is after I made them, and I lived at home with my mom and dad, I tracked that wax all over the house because being young, you don't care about anything, and so that was the end of the wax career. After that, where did I go after that? Let's see.
You got it?
Set your phaser on stun.
I got it. I got it.
Yay. Got it.
Here are a few my early wood turning things. A little bowl on the top left and down, a Bocodi one. And I made some pens and a letter opener. And the center top is a light switch, press on, press off, and dimmer. And on the right is some pens and a pen cup. I just sold that pen cup at our garage sale.
Huh?
I sold that at the garage sale the other day. I got rid of it.
But
$2.
You have to have with the one thing be able to work it.
Yeah, but anyway, that's some of my early exotic woods I fell into, and that'll do it.
You're old at this point.
What kind of wood is that center bowl on your right, I guess? Our left?
It was Bacote or Cordia. This one?
Yes.
That's Bacote, and this part is sapwood. So the outer part of the tree is on the bottom.
Well, it looks white. Normally.
But Cody's sapwood is white. It's a creamish color. It's from Mexico. I was able to get a lot of that from Tim Mahoney at Hand Loggers in the day. He's no longer with us. Let's try it again. Okay. Far left you see is Cocobolo, and I fell in love with exotic woods, and Cocobolo is like #1 at the time. And that's a simple vase, and I still have it. It's got a test tube top. And then some friends of mine were importing manzanita burl, and I fell in love with that because it's nature's ornamentation right there. Most of them are root burls, and I started making vases left and right.
And lamps?
Yeah, I made
Big
lamps.
lamps.
But the vases were the best thing to
They
make.
had a lot of bugs in them.
Yeah, there's a lot of sand and rocks in it.
Post your postal career, you started really going after this, or this is
At the time, these were in the
82, 83.
late 70s because I did a few street fairs and I was selling manzanita. The exotic wood, that started in the late 70s, and then about 81, I really started doing a lot more. A few other things. There's a crucifix cross on the left. I made those at Easter time. The one on the top right is a natural edge perfume bottle, the same as the center, and a few Easter eggs over on the right. I upgraded to this lathe somewhere in my career. I don't remember when I bought it, but it was a nice little one. I had a foot pedal on it, along with a reversing switch. And I started making some little boxes, and they have little chatter work on the top.
Oh, I just thought that was a little Atlas.
Yeah, that was like an Atlas lathe, but it wasn't an Atlas. It was some other company. I think it's a Power King. These have chatter work on the lids, if you can see it, and that's the type of ornamentation I was doing, and started getting away with making items like that. These are bottles. They open up with a O-ring on the inside the lid. There's a vial inside, and they're all lathe turns. The ones on the top are exotic woods again, from myrtle to kingwood, and the bottom left is boxwood and ebony, and the right ones are more exotics: redwood burl, lignivite, and cocobolo, and ebony. I was using ebony at the time because I hadn't found blackwood yet. Sooner or later, blackwood comes into the picture with ornamental turning because it's the finest wood. I also did perfume bottles in the shape of a ginormous yo-yo, and these are kingwood on the left, cocoa in the center, and zirconia on the right. And the black wood is ebony, and you can see the chatter work I did on the medallions that went on the front. There's also one on the back side, which you can't see, so they're balanced. I still have those three pieces. Couldn't part with them. Here's more along the same line, different ones. Two of them are elevated. They open up right here, right there, and there's a vial inside. And they seal with an O-ring. More exotic woods and chatter work. I mean, I've got it down where I can do a nice spiral, you can see, or a zigzag. I still do a lot of that on my tops.
You do, you've been doing it forever,
Yeah. Laminated wood bottles with exotic woods. Same principle, it's a bottle, you twist it, open and close it, and there's a glass vial inside.
John, can you tell the dates, the years? So
Those are sometime in the 80s. Those are sometime in the 80s, probably. If I look at my slides, at the time I was shooting slides, the slides are all dated. And nobody shoots slides anymore, do they?
He made his own darkroom in the closet, yeah.
I was in that closet.
You developed your stuff. Let's do another project.
You know, they're recording all this.
Okay, fine.
Try to get another one. A few more of the scent bottles. They sold very well. There was a conversation I was with somebody on Facebook about one of George Carlin's comics. He was saying something about stuff. People have so much stuff, they don't know what to do with their stuff, so they buy a bigger building and get more stuff, and it goes on and on. And one of my number one customers was George Carlin, and he bought my scent bottles probably for his cocaine. But I don't know that for sure, but the gallery would call me up, "Hey, George was in, he bought a bunch of your bottles, send some more." George was in the gallery, send some more. Anyway, so he was one of my big buyers many years ago. These are, one area I didn't touch on was I went into making bandsaw boxes. That's where you cut a box out of using a bandsaw with a thin blade, a small one. And these are bandsaw boxes, but I also turned either the tops or the sides or the drawer The top left, I put zebra on top of koa and turned it after I made the box. And the same with the one on the right, that's rosewood and then tulip wood. And the one on the left bottom is turned on the drawer and the top of the box. And it was made out of Indian rosewood and Pernambuco, the orange wood used on violin bows. Very nice wood, hard to come by today, and has a little beetle nut on the pull handle of the drawer.
So the lower left side, it's up, is that got a friction fit that makes it do that?
There's felt in here,
The felt, okay,
and the felt keeps it,
okay.
but actually it's meant to lay down, and you'd pull it out this way. And that would be the top, and that would be the drawer pull. I'm just playing around, seeing, making something different, being a little creative to see what happens. I have the tulip one. I gave it to my mom, and she gave it back to me when she moved. Bill Hunter was making some spiral bowls, and I said, I'd like to do something like that. And so I said, I'll make some bottles like that. So I mapped them out, and then I sanded down the grooves. So those are all hand-carved, and they were fun to do, but an awful lot of work. You turn it, and you carve it. They were very nice. A few more in that series where I tried a few different things. The center one, I did a few like this, and they open up right here. And this one here, I did it around in a spiral and going down on a rectangle piece of wood. It worked, and then on the top of that, you'll see it's a split turning. I turned two different turnings and split one and then glued it on. And it came out pretty good.
Were these spirals cut by hand, or they?
I mapped them out with a compass. When I was on the lathe, just drew the arc, indexed it, drew an arc, and then I carved them using a grinder and a flex wheel and a sandoflex at the very end. So it was a process. It made a lot of dust. It's very messy, time-consuming, but it was fun, and I managed to make quite a few of them. I fell into making a few miniatures, which I still do a few nowadays. The top left is obviously a candlestick with a toggle nut candle. You can see a nickel there. And then the top right are little bowls. That one appeared in an early American Woodturner magazine, that picture of that one. The bottom left is goblets of different woods, a toggle nut and a beetle nut, and then on the right, a beetle nut vase and a couple more candlesticks, all miniatures, all small. It's fun to make small stuff, and the good thing is you don't use much wood or material, and it doesn't make a big pile of dust around your ankle.
If it doesn't work for you, I have control over it here too. So.
Okay. This was something that I started making spinning tops, and I became very addicted to making these. The ones in the top those are all natural colors, except there's one with acrylic. That's this one here. That's acrylic. But they're all natural colors in the wood, and the exotic wood palette is very diversified, and you can probably find wood in any color of the rainbow, I think, and if you look hard enough. Anyway, I started making stands for them because it elevated the top to a new degree of me being able to sell it for a higher price, which was nice.
Otherwise, you didn't make that much.
And there's a beautiful picture. That's on one of my postcards. Shows the various woods and nuts, beetle nuts. I still use the beetle nuts today. And you can see a lot of chatter work on there. And here we put some back on the stands by using exotic woods. And all the tops fit both ways. You can see this one sits this way, but if you flip it over, it sits in, so they hide. And some of them actually go all the way through to the bottom. This is the bad thing I read about. It's called ornamental turning. It was in fine woodworking. It was about Frank Knox and how he got an ornamental lathe and started making things with it. And he said, good luck finding one. Well, that was in 81 when I found this article. I didn't find it in 76. I read about it in 81. And I said, I want to get one of those things. So I started looking, and I looked for 5 years. And there was a tool auction in 86. And the only thing I had to go by what was written in there and said that it was an ornamental lathe. And no picture of it, so I don't know what I was going to get. So I threw a bid on it, and I got it. And 6 months later, it showed up, and this is what it looked like. And I said, looks like a lathe. I was happier than anything, but it was in anything but perfect condition. And this is how it looked, which looks kind of nasty, but they clean up very well, and it just took me a bit of time to do it, which a few months.
No, it wasn't.
A few months.
Well, it was a year.
In with it was this Polaroid picture of how it looked before I bought it, and I noticed the broken window in the top right. I thought that was cute. Anyway, after time, that's what it looked like after I cleaned it up. And I didn't damage it too much. But cleaning them up, they clean up very well. It doesn't look like that today, although it looks a little different.
There's our kids.
The kids like riding on the treadle. On the left one, I'm taking a picture, and my wife Sharon is doing the pumping, and that's our first daughter on the left, second daughter Elizabeth on the left, Victoria on the right, the two queens. So, this Holtzapfel stuff, I had to make a trip to the UK to see where it came from and what I could look at there. And this was at the Science Museum, and Michael Wright was, I believe, the curator at that time, or designated in charge of it. And he took us for a nice tour around and looked at some of the stuff that Holtzapfel actually made, or people working under him made, because I doubt if he did too much. He just pointed his finger and said, do that.
These are all classic.
Yeah, these are the ones, you can see these in the book. I have pictures of me holding some of these, but you're not supposed to be able to touch this stuff. You're not even supposed to take pictures there if you've been there. You're not supposed to do anything. But anyway, he allowed us to do some of that stuff. These lathes, you usually have to have a box of these cutters to do all the cutting with it. And so you have to shop around and find these. And there's a lot of these boxes out there. A lot of them are in good condition. And those that are in good condition are obviously never been used. But some of them are destroyed. So you'll find either, but you got to really hunt for them or find people who know where to get them. Cutting frames to do the cutting on it. These are some that I did arrive with the machine. So these are vintage ones. And then I have some modern ones, I think, in the next one. There's a couple of new ones. The two bottom were made by Fred Armbruster, and the top one was made by Tony Brooks. He made a number of different ones. The top one's a copy of a Birch. It works fairly well, and it has different spindles on it that change it. But the modern ones with the ball bearings are much nicer. Here's an early piece off of mine off the Holtzapfel. I think it's one of my second pieces. And it's not ornamented much, it's just straight lines, up and down, and indexed a little bit, and a little shadow work on the lid. But it's still in my family, and it's a nice piece for being the first one. Here's some of the first boxes I made on the lathe. They're all index carved. The sides are done with a horizontal cutting frame, and the lids on the ones in the center and center top are done with an eccentric cutting frame where you index and it cuts a circle, and you move the circle around to create a nice geometric pattern. The others were done with just a horizontal cutting frame. I fell back to making disc bottles, but I faceted them on the Holtz apple. They're similar to the earlier ones I showed you that I called yo-yos. And these are some of my first index carved boxes. You put it, whoops, I went back. Here we go. The one on the far right, it's a zigzag. I went this way, then that way, and then back again, and the same with the one behind it. And then the two center ones are a spiral where you just keep rotating and going right down through the holes.
You want to explain what you mean by index carving?
That's exactly what it is. You index it and you carve it a little, move it a little. Same thing, repeat it.
And reverse it.
It's very hard.
And reverse it.
Yeah, and these are all done with the old pinning type machine, the Holtz apple.
Yep.
Let's see. There's a couple of nice ones. The one on the left, I still have, that's been in a couple of magazines, which, once it's published, I kind of say, I don't want to let it go. I'll keep it, because there's some provenance to it. A couple more. The left one is done with a cutter. It's got a little concave on it. And this one, I indexed it going spiral, and then I drug the cutter straight down and then continued it. Now, I sold this to a guy, Irv Lipton, and it was sold at another auction after his passing, and I looked at it and I said, there's something wrong about that. And if you follow the cuts, I'm off on one here. Okay. And I made that mistake, and I sold it. And I don't remember making that mistake or selling it with that mistake.
That's even better.
You
don't remember where you
And I missed it. Maybe I had a drink or two or something. I don't know. But we make those mistakes on these ornamental lathes. It's very easy to do. Put it in the wrong hole and you do it. And the left one's the same thing, except I sanded it down so it had little bumps on
But
it.
if you don't make a mistake on it, it means it came from a machine.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true. But I have to tell you this. Every piece I ever sell is not perfect. There's a mistake somewhere of some nature that I would never share.
Nobody does that, John.
Yeah, well, a couple of index carved boxes.
Everybody has
That's why
a
there's
secret.
such demand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody has a
And here's more of the same. The one on the left we already saw. The one on the right, a little combination of crazy work, trying something different. What else can I do with the lathe? And
Aren't they beautiful?
it's just a different way of looking at it.
I know.
One on the left, and these are from later when I had a Rose engine because I did engine turning on it. But it's every other line. This one is indexed, but this is just a scraping to make a ring. That's kind of nice. And this here it's done using the spiral apparatus going around this way and then reversing it through here. So this is one cut, and this is the second cut. One went one way, and then I dropped the reversing gear in and ran it back, which is time-consuming. More index boxes. I think the one on the left got it's either eccentric or could have been an ellipse cutting frame on that one. I think that's what it was. The one on the right was done with a drill frame, made little flowers on it. And this is still playing on that holds apple. This is a little dot box I made, and it took me 2 weeks to make that. I bored a hole, all the holes in the side, then I turned a little piece of blackwood that size to glue into all the holes, and then I used a cone drill to go in and make them domed. So each one of those dots was technically hand. Huh?
What's that, in the blackwood, what's the insert made out of?
It's a beetle nut.
A beetle nut?
In the center picture?
Yeah.
It's a beetle nut.
Beetle.
They also call it sapari. If you're on eBay, you can go look for a whole beetle nut or a whole sapari. And it's a battle nut, beetle battle, and that's what that is. And I think it's on a few of my pieces in the back. And that was with an O-ring seal on the lid. I still have that one. It went to Aramont and was shown there. This one's done. The box is reciprocated on the sides, and the lid is done on the rose engine. It's bamboo, beetle nut, and lignum vitae, and pink ivory on the inside of the lid. This one's all out of bamboo and blackwood. And I've made 2 of these boxes. Fred Armbruster ended up with one. And I sold the other one at a gallery, and I purchased it back about a year ago. The person had put it up for sale, so I bought it. So I technically have this piece back.
When you say bamboo, you just took the round part of the bamboo and
Yeah,
carved it?
that's just this is the bamboo, and what I did is I turned it round, and then I bored it out a little bit by hand, and then I rose engined it and did this on the top, and the bottom insert I made separate and glued it in, and the lid this is 2 pieces from here to here, because this I pumped to match that, and you can see it fits in along here. These are cuts, and so this is another piece inserted in with the rose engine, and then bamboo on the top. Bamboo is a beautiful material. It's very hard, durable as all heck. It's underrated for turning. Yes.
What kind of drying recommendations do you have for bamboo?
Don't buy it fresh,
Don't buy it.
freshly cut. I usually buy it at like a Home Depot shop or a garden shop. That's where I buy it, and I buy it wherever they store it outdoors, and then you cut it up and let it sit for a while. I don't see that it shrinks too much. I've had some crack, but it's the bigger pieces, like about this big, that they go bad. It's something about, but just stick the smaller pieces, cut it, just turn it around, let it sit in 6 months. You know, it doesn't take long.
And it's hard enough to accept the cutting.
It sure is. Yeah, I use it a lot. Blackwood with a reciprocating pattern. I call it the lizard cut. That's where it makes little bumps on the sides. And at the top finial, that's togwa nut. And there's some togwa nuts upstairs. Peter Kyle's selling some for $1, which is a good price. And this is shagreen. That's shark skin or stingray skin. And this is done pumping on the lathe, and this is the reciprocating. And rose engine down inside.
So the shark skin is just actual shark skin that you just put on top of the
Well, the word shagreen means shark skin. And the majority of this is not shark skin, it's stingray or guitar fish. My box upstairs, I have examples of both. One is, the one that goes around is from a guitar fish. It looks like stingray skin, but this here is stingray.
But it's actually the skin of the fish that's.
It's the skin of the fish. It's
That you
been,
glue on the surface for the texture.
yeah, it's tanned and dyed, and there are not very many places that do it, especially in the United States, because of the chemicals involved in doing it. It's a problem, with an environmental issue. So if you're buying it, you can buy it on eBay, but a lot of the sellers are from Thailand. And when you buy it from there and you get it and it smells like fish, that's a problem. It's no good. It's going to rot. It's not done right. You should buy it from a leather dealer who's reputable. And most exotic leather dealers, like sell crocodile and alligator, they'll have it. A good piece is expensive. If you're making a good piece, you want to have good stuff in there. So don't use the Thailand stuff. Anyway, back to the dot box that I made. I wanted to do it again, but I didn't want to do all those dots, so I just made a bottle out of blackwood, and I drilled all these holes in it, and I put skewers in there, little skewers, little pieces, and returned it down, and it came out pretty nice. Saved me a lot of trouble. But I found an easier way to do it. Just buy a piece of snake wood, and it looks just as good. And these are bottles with the lids open.
I believe it's in 42.
Just plant pieces.
42.
Yeah. This was a spiral apparatus that I bought from a guy in the UK. It was pretty complete. It was missing a couple things, but it works really good. But with it, you can do spirals on the lathe by gearing it up. Here you can see a train of gears up against the banjo arm that goes to the slide rest. These are the gears. And then you have a chuck here, which you index the piece with. And this is looking down on the lathe. You can see it hooks up here. And you crank the slide rest by hand, and you create a spiral piece. Here you can see where I'm doing one that involves a number of different gears. There's 2, 4, 5, total of 5, 6. See? Goes from here to a gear on the back, which drives this, which drives this. Oh, no, wait a minute. Which one? Oh, shoot. Anyway, it's confusing. Yeah, my ratio's off. I'm not sure there. Which one is actually driving the spindle on the slide rest? What do you think? Which one?
The big gear, on the big bottom gear on the left.
This?
No, the big,
This?
no, to the left.
This?
To the left.
This?
Yes.
Okay. That's what it is. Maybe it is. I'm not sure.
Because the little gear is driven by the bigger one in front of the middle gear.
You're experimenting with this now, so this is...
Slide rest.
Beg pardon?
Slide rest is being driven by the small gear, which is being driven by the big gear.
Right here, somewhere. In there.
Well, the big gear is being driven by that gear, yeah.
Anyway, nice train of gears. I take pictures. At the time, I used to take pictures so I could come back and do it again. I received a lot of comedians talking about my tension thing there called the rubber band. And I know that Paul Fletcher used to use them, too. And you hand crank this. At the time, I didn't have an automatic one, so you do it by hand. So you crank this, and this thing moves along, and the cutter's spinning around from the overhead and cuts it there, and then you have to index it. It's very time-consuming to do this.
What's the purpose of the rubber band?
There's a little play in the slide. In here, there's a little play. That just puts it right in, and yeah, and it definitely works. A few examples. The box that you saw me cutting, that's it there, and there's one cut here and one cut there. So, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's probably eight flutes, and the one on the right, I left one flute higher to give it something different. Here's another picture of it with the little reciprocator hooked up. That's the thing that oscillates and makes it go out, back and forth. Instead of this going around, it just wiggles back and forth right here. There's an offset cam in here. The cutter goes along and cuts it. I don't know if I have any pieces here made on that.
Is that a post office rubber band?
Yes, sir. Number 64.
Yes, sir.
Lots of them. Lots of them. They come in the mail. Beetle nut vase. Here, the spiral is on the stem of this tripod holder that I made for this vase. Now, that whole thing was about this big. I was really happy because it ended up in Fine Woodworking, one of their books. So I was happy about that. And it's pink ivory on the bottom and cocoa bolo on the top.
Is there a red tint to it?
A red?
The red tint on the nut. Did you
That's
dye it, or was that just, looks like it's
in
red.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what do you call it? Photographic magic.
Oh, okay.
It was probably tweaked a little in the processing. This is blue where it should be gray.
Matches.
It looks good. I've made quite a few of these and sold them. I just sold one at AAW auction earlier this year. It was not that as nice as that one.
You can take it off.
And these are done with the spiral apparatus. The center one, it's 8 flutes around, I believe, but to do these, they're all stepped. So I would do one cut for this, one cut for that one cut for that one, and one cut for that one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 cuts for every spiral done down. So I do them all with one cutter, and then I switch to another cutter and do the same thing, just re-indexing it and lining it up. But it's a long time to do this. This one is just a wiggle cut on the reciprocator using a drill frame. This is a combination of drill frames. Yeah, just drill. But inside, I'd bore it out, and I'd put corian in the inside. And then when I cut through, you see the corian.
Here's a sample of those nuts. One raw, one partially cut, so getting a lot of questions on it.
So, here's some, this is all reciprocated work. I've done where it wiggles back and forth in beetle nuts and togwa nuts and kingwood and blackwood.
No, that's the beetle nut.
More boxes done on the reciprocator. The one on the right is reversed, and then the left one is kind of cocked, where they're not even, they're like going down because I moved it a little, the slide rest. And this is just straight up and down, and that's diamond back. I call it lizard cut.
The top piece,
Yeah, and I'll go back.
just do matching pieces to make it look like it's broke apart, or,
Yes, here.
yeah.
I labeled those jaws. What it is there are 2 pieces, this one and that one. What I do is I do the teeth, I line them up, and I cut the teeth. Do the top, and I do 2 the same. And then what I did is made a cylinder to go inside it. So I turned the inside of this round and that one round, so it's like drilling a hole in each one. I put it together, matched them up, either
And
like
rod,
this.
maybe a rod or something.
No, just the wood. The wood is super glued in. And then I returned them again to make it round, the egg. And this one here, it's a little closer. And this one, that one's in Maine, at Fred's house. Fred has that one. I have the one in the center. I put it out there for sale at one of the Albert Clough's thing, and it didn't sell, so I have it back. And the left one, some lucky buyer has it.
Yeah.
More of the reciprocating work it's done There I do I forget what I call that cut on the side. And then a little rose engine blackwood up there and a piece of togwa nut on the top, finial.
What kind of wood is it?
That is Vera wood, which is bastard lignum vitae. It's from Argentina. It's like lignum. It has a very aromatic smell, like a spice. If you put it in the sun, it'll go dark green. If you put it in your closet, it'll turn brown. Then you can repeat the process. It's like a chameleon, but it's a wood that has an issue where it grows little crystals. If you buy some of this and you turn it, look at it in a few weeks, and you might see little crystals growing someplace along there. And I don't know what it is or why it does it, but it does. It's unusual wood.
Are you threading those, or are you just O-ring?
No, I've done thread. No, that's just a slip fit.
Just slipped it?
Yeah, I mainly do slip fit. I don't do threads that much because they take too much time. It's the process of if you can cut it and then do it, but it's so much work. I'd rather just play with it. Your wood has to be semi-dry. Wood changes, it moves. If you have threads in there, a lot of things can happen. It can lock up or it can become loose. Tick, 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 tick. And when you make it, it has to be loose. It has to have it's got to be a little loose. I don't like it. This is my first rose engine. It was a plant. It's nice. I liked it a lot. I did a lot of work on it. This is what it's used for. It's used in the industry of jewelry usually, or here you can see the cuts that it does here, and these have been enameled. This is like a Fabergé, and here you can see it's up and down. This piece was done by a company back east where they made a pattern with the engine turning, and then they pressed them out. So that's pressed. That's an actual cut by RGM watches, and these compacts are a dime a dozen on the internet. Most of them are pressed, but you have to have it in your hand to look at it to see, is this real or has it been pressed? And there's very few real ones. Most of them are all pressed. There's some engine turning that I did on a blackwood box, and it has a little togwa nut on there. As you look at the picture, it looks off-center, but everything's centered up there, but it looks off. And it's the same rosette. And, when I bought this machine, there were no books out there to figure out how to work these things, so it was a trial and error. You learn, you try this. There's only one book, and it was by Martin Matthews, and it's not that good of a book, but it's a book. But that's what I started doing, a lot of this engine turning on wood. Oh, don't go. Here you can see some on this box. It's all along there, but this is what it actually looks like. So this is blackwood, and these are little dots that I put in of bloodwood, and then I turn a spiral from one dot to the next dot. And I made a couple of these, and one of them's in the museum someplace back east. I can't remember the name, but it's nice. It was a nice box. I made two identicals, and there's little droplets, like bloodwood on the top, and I thought these looked like little droplets coming through. Just playing around. When you have one of these lathes, what do you do with it? You experiment, you play around. And that was a nice box, though. One of my friends, he was he was in a finance company, and he wanted me to make him a cigar box. And so this was a cigar box to hold some cigars, so it was quite tall. And so I told him I'll do one, and I'll put dots on it, and how about a little silver and a little tagua. So this is the box I made him, which was nice. I probably sold it for too low of a price. But he ordered 4 more, and so I was busy making 4. Although he's a good customer because he bought a piece from me last year and the year before that. And every year he buys a piece. And I go visit him because he moves out. He's out here on the West Coast. Anyway, enough of the cigar boxes. Back to engine turning and reciprocating the jaws. I did the jaws on the top. I engine turned this, and I reciprocated these to emulate like a smoke going up in the air or a serpent. And the bottom of the box has it also, but that's the inside of the lid where it goes back and forth in a little pink ivory. I have not let that box go yet. It's nice. A few of I call these star boxes. They're just index carved on the sides very deep, and then engine turned on the top, and a little toggle and pink ivory on the left. A little silver. I started using that engine turning machine for the metal that it's supposed to be, and those are silver. And I really enjoyed the silver. They came out nice, and they look good in the boxes. I forget what the finish I used on it to keep them from tarnishing.
Is that argentum?
No. It was, I believe it was pure silver, not maybe it was sterling. I don't remember.
Because one of them is not supposed to tarnish at all.
Fine silver doesn't tarnish.
Yeah. But I still put a finish on it. I don't know what I used, but
Where do you get it from?
Rio Grande.
Okay.
Put it in there, so he doesn't, give him a break.
All silver tarnishes.
There's supposed to be someplace out of St. Louis, but
I
it's
know,
always
yeah.
the one on the right, I had somebody enamel for me. I bought a kiln. I tried to do enameling. I was totally unsuccessful. I bought my kiln, bought the enamels. I got rid of it. So a lady friend of mine, Mary Lee Ray, did the one on the right. The one on the left, now that's silver but gold plated. Now, this piece went to Gorst. And I don't know how bad that is because I had a matching piece that I still have at home, and the gold plating is coming off. So, I don't know. Have you seen this piece?
No, but I can probably tell you what's wrong.
Yeah, well, I didn't do the plating. Some company,
curiosity what's wrong.
I don't know, the plating's all flaked out.
You have to put a stripe underneath the gold, but, if you have sterling silver and you put gold plating over it, well, you have now a battery, because you have just similar metals. And so the copper will migrate through the silver, through the gold.
Yeah.
And so it'll become dark, but if it's peeling, it just means that the part wasn't clean.
It's kind of like turning black.
Yeah, well, if it's turning black, then the problem is tarnish.
Okay.
What's happened is the silver is migrated, started off at 23 karat gold, and now it's 8 karat gold, and the copper is tarnishing.
Yeah, so
It sounds like if you want to sell it and don't want to get it back, you better find another medium.
I quit doing it.
He doesn't
Put
quit,
a
he's just
copper
like,
stripe down, then you put a nickel plate down, or platinum or palladium.
Yeah,
And then you put the gold on top, and then it's good forever.
probably, but these are not
Yeah.
good. Anyway, the other one I gave away is a gift to my son. A few more boxes, index carved on the sides and engine turned on the top.
What's the wood on the left?
Cocobolo.
Is that Coca-Cola?
It is Cocobolo.
And you don't have any problems with the dust from Coca-Cola?
I despise it now because it smells like pepper and I hate it. Have I broken out? No. I break out from Banksia seed pods. I've turned those and I come out like poison oak. Each wood affects different people. Engine turned blackwood on the top, index carved on the sides and drill frame, creating more patterns, playing around. And this one has a little engine turning on the very top and here. More of the same. The one on the left has some BBs in it. Back to the making dots, but using copper, but it's actually steel. One on the right's Coco Bolo. Boxwood, kingwood, pink ivory, and beetle nut. And there's that beetle nut on the bottom in the center, and beetle nut in here. And this is the inside of the lid. It's one of my favorite rosettes. This one was done on the Rose engine using an eccentric cutting frame where I did the sides and the lid and the inside of the lid and a Rose engine on the rest. Came out nice, little blackwood. It was very small. It was about 2.5 inches across. Madagascar rosewood, which is a wood that's really nice, has a beautiful cranberry color. That one has toggle nut on the top and a zigzag pattern running down the side. It's all done on the Rose engine, indexing it. It's a nice piece. I liked it. Another one similar, all done on the Rose engine with toggle nut on the top. Now, if you go upstairs, my box has a very similar finial with the same rosette leaf pattern holding a toggle nut like this. There's a box upstairs. It's one of my favorites. I use it a lot. Polymer clay can come in. It's very pretty stuff to work with. I use it on a lot of my buttons. This is a box I used it on. I wrapped it around the side. These are all separate pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 10 of these little square pieces. And the top piece on the lid was one piece on the inside. But the lid's one piece. But I glued them all together and fit them to the sides. You have to cook it. So what I did is I meshed it in the sides into 2 pieces, like 2 cuffs. Cooked it, and then I put it on a piece and glued it all together and returned it. Came out really nice. One of my square boxes, it's where you turn it on 4 sides. Actually 6 sides to be realistic, but it's a cube. And the orange is Amboina burl, and it has a tapered fit using 8 degrees. So this here has an 8-degree angle, and it slips in, and it sits really nice. It fits. You can make that lid into any shape you want using the rosettes, and as long as you keep it just right, it just fits right in. I have 2 boxes upstairs using that principle of 8 degrees, but this one was a big hunk of black. You can buy blackwood in squares, too, so it comes already pre-turned to square, so you just have to clean it up a little bit. Nature's ornamentation, this is shagreen. It's a really nice piece. You see all the beadwork, the little nodules, and the center one is the center on the back of the animal. There's 1 dot, and these have been sanded down a little more here and then less as you go out. It's a great material, and it comes in any color of the rainbow. And there's the guitarfish has the long spine like this, which is the dorsal spine of a fish, and it's just cut down, so these are just the nuds that just stick up. Here's one other one in a different color. Here's a full skin I have, which you very rarely can get a full skin with a tail, but you can get it in any color. I've used it on a lot of boxes, the sides and the tops. Very nice stuff. And you got to figure out what color is going to work with what wood. and it works very good. And I tuck it into the lid. In tomorrow's program, I show how I do that, I believe. At least I hope. There's another one. That was one of my favorite pictures. It shows it in detail. Black wood and the black shagreen. It's really nice. Here's one where I have red shagreen, and then I made a button to put it on top of the lid and put a little shagreen in there too. This piece here, that's just a set in. And then on the inside of the box, I used it way down in the bottom. And what's different about this box is that the top slips off. It's a sleeve, so this goes all the way down. That's the lid, and here you can see the lid, and here's the box. And it slides down, and it went down really slow because it's not much air left in there. It's nice, and it's turned on the bottom and the inside. I hope I'm not boring you too much. Here's another sleeve box, but no ornamentation on the sides at all. And a little toggle nut on the top.
How much tolerance is there between the sleeve and the outside?
Beg your pardon?
How much tolerance is there? How close?
You mean the air in between?
Yeah.
Depends on how good I am with the skew. It varies. If you go too far, you screw it up. You don't want any play. You want it to, if you put the lid on and let go, it'll slowly go down.
Piston.
So you do it on a skew then instead of a metal lathe?
No, it's hand. I don't use metal lathes on any of these. You know, that's not what I use a metal lathe for. That's all hand. I'm good with I'm using skews that I make. I make round skews. I don't make regular skew. I make my own type of skew. I have about 30 of them, maybe more.
He makes the handles.
Anyway, the top is Porsche green. Here's one. Black on black is really nice. And the white on this one is artificial ivory. Very nice. That one came out really good. That's in Maine. One of my best ones I made. I have one like this upstairs. This is what I was talking about. It's similar to this.
It's a process.
And this is black and white, ebony, and there's an 8-degree fit. See, there's a little angle here. You can't see it too good. Here you can see that's 8 degrees. And there's 48 rosette used there, 48 and 8 degrees. And so when you drop it in, it sits in almost perfect. And then I wrap the stingray around the side and do a pattern in the bottom and the bottom. But there's one very similar upstairs. Let's see, what's next? Here I had a glass ball, and I wanted to make a nice stand for it, and so the F4 rosette made this one. It came out really nice. I like it. And then I shot it with the shadow. Give it some character. I didn't do the carving on the octopus, but I did the stands for him. And I did the stand. I just did these around Halloween just to have fun. So
Ask you what rosette you used to turn the top.
that's the head one. The head one. And these are the bottoms of these. This is the screen. So when I turn something, I want to turn it here, turn it there, everywhere. And these are the ones that sold up at AEW a few months ago. They're all beetle nut vases. They're hollowed out, actually, and a nice fit on the lid. And those are the stands, and the bottoms of the cases are there. This is a thing called the lamb, and I made these for a friend who has friends who are bakers, and they score the bread before they bake it, and they use a tool called the lamb, and so I made these. And there's a screw here, a pin here, and so you'd screw it and it'd be tight, but then you want to kick it out, and so, I forget, you turn it and then it slides that way to this point, and so it sticks out like say. And then I didn't like making them. Here's a better picture of them because it shows both sides. So maybe it just shows them with the blade. No, it's a different one because this is the same as this one.
If they're using that to cut the loaf of bread, how much does a loaf cost?
Personally, I think these were never used, and they'll never be used because if you ever met somebody who's a baker and they use those, their hands are in the dough all the time, and dough, flour, and whatnot's all over these things. And they're not going to, if you take a handful of wet dough and you put it on that, you're ruining it. You're filling it all up. So I think they were just like a gift to the people who made the bread. Very nice. A lot of work on those. The bad thing is I came away with a lot of Band-Aids on my fingers. Tops, you get a combination of ornamental, and this here is a knurling tool. That's ornamental, and then there's chatter work and ornamental and chatter work. I'm addicted to tops, but I'm trying not to make them. I've made a lot of rings, and these are ring stands. They're fun to do, but not that good. Bolos, you can see engine turn to shagreen to beetle nut. And this shagreen is in the background. I've done a lot of hair picks or shawl pins. The skull ones sell fast for some reason. These are pipes for the pipers. This is the Elephant Man. You can see it's homage John Merrick, the Elephant Man. This is a profile with a background, but the shadow casting off them, you can see the deformity because of the burl. So I named it John Merrick. I've done quite a few profiles. I don't think I have any other pictures of any. I did some. This is earlier work. These are little radar bottles. These opened up here, this one, and there's a bottle inside with O-ring. This one opened up here, and this also opens up, and this one does, but this is articulated, so you can swing this radar thing different ways. And inside there, I have a bottle of mercury, which I didn't know where else to put it, so I put it in there. I'm not going to use it. Simple turn bottles using burl woods. Little ornamentation on the lids, but not much. Most of it's chatter. This is off the Rose engine there, and that's it. The rest is all hand turning and shaping and inlaying the wood or beetle nut. Castles. The left picture is from Holtz-Appel's Volume 5. And I said, I got to make a castle. So, that's the first castle ever made. That one went to Delmonte Gallery. And I can't remember how much it sold for. It was a pretty good price.
How many pieces for the castle?
This one starts here, and it goes to right here. And then from here to here, and then there's two pieces. There's a red inside, And then this is one other piece. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. And 6 if you count this where the O-ring is, because that's a separate piece put in there. And I have a couple of castles here. That one, I made that many years ago, and I think it sold north of 1,000. And here's me making one. You can see, and this is not that one, but you can see I'm using a drill to go back and forth. The drill was used to go back and forth here. This was faced off using a big eccentric cutting frame. Using a drill bit to go in, cut these. Here you can see a rubber band too. And this is the cutter I use going through cutting these little gullets out in here. And that is the most dangerous cut to do, doing this thing, because you're cutting into it and it wants to break. So there's a trick to doing it, and you got to go real slow. You can put a plug in there.
John, would it be easier to cut it as a solid piece, or the grooves as a solid piece and then drill a hole out?
It's going to be harder to cut that much wood.
Okay.
You're cutting in pretty deep. If you look at the one back there, you're cutting it. It's gone. Who took it? Where'd it go?
We took it.
Just kidding.
So did you do the whole thing in the Holtz or back and forth?
Oh, this is all in the Holtz, yeah. The new one's, it's a combo. Here's the second run of castles. This one, now mind you, this was 2008 maybe. I sold that for $2,700. This one I sold for $1,200. This for $1,200. This one I gave to my mother, and that one I gave to my daughter. And that was a long time ago. And I got good money for those. But there's a lot of work in it. And you know, where do you get ideas? Well, here's where I get some of the ideas. It's just from stuff out there. I'm going to be working on one like this. And I'm almost ready to do it. That's all I'm making now is some castles, and that's about it, just because I want to. Here's the last run that I did of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I did 10, 11, and I quit, and I didn't want to do it again. It's just so much work. It's too many things. This is the one that Michael Goldblatt has, and this is a secondary one. There's another bottle in here and a bottle in here. And that one was...
How tall is that in inches?
That one was about this tall.
Yeah.
About 10.
And you said a bottle inside of it?
There's a little bottle in the top and a bigger bottle in the bottom.
Is it a perfume bottle or something?
Perfume bottles, yeah, like similar to what I have in there. There's one bottle that fits in here, and there's one bottle that fit in here. And that one sold for $2,700.
Those bottles, is that like a test tube then?
Yes, I'll show you some back there if you want. These are some of the newer ones I just made. This one's upstairs, and this one is upstairs, and this one's back there. This one, there's 35 hours there. So, and that's on Rose Engine too. That's, huh?
I remember that recently.
It's upstairs, and there's a nice little stand for it. So it takes a lot of time. Those I made. That's all I'm doing is this kind of stuff now. We used to do a lot of shows. This one was from San Francisco, I believe, and I have these glass showcases, and you can see some tops, bottles, some of my wall art. And here's another booth. This is my wife and my sister, Janet, Sharon on the right. And I changed the booth from the other type of booth to this more inviting booth, which it invited people in. So it was, I don't know, damn, that's not serious. There you go. It's inviting, it's warm, brought people in. But you know how many sales I had? All right. Because everybody liked the booth and it was, oh, it gets so nice in here. Yeah, so did I, but I didn't when I left. Made no money.
I'm just at the beginning. How long have you been doing this?
Well, my Hope's Apple arrived in 1986, so that's how long I've been doing ornamental turning. I think I started in the 70s doing some shows, street fairs. That's in a day where we paid $100 to have a booth. I think it was less. But I also did a few food markets with tables, celebrity. And then I got in a lot of galleries, and then I just did gallery. It's easier. I don't have to worry about it. Any luck?
But the receiving was bad, so.
Here you can see another view of the booth, and it has a little bit different version. These are some of those profiles. Here you can see this one is some profile cuts. This is a profile cut. And even samples of wood people would buy. People always buy something. More wood. It's very colorful. That was in Sausalito.
And it's raining.
Yeah, that was very neat. Anyway, I think this might have been the last show we did sometime back.
Yeah.
But at the time, we had one booth here on the West Coast, and we also had a booth on the East Coast. It would go into storage, and we'd fly back there and do shows. We'd do the Smithsonian, Philadelphia, Baltimore shows. But it became very expensive. We already saw that. Did we kick it to the wrong area? Yeah.
Yes, no?
Maybe I pressed the wrong button.
Oh, you might have jumped back.
No, if you go back the wrong way.
Back one?
It has to be in brush.
Let's see.
Okay, here we go. Let's just go from here. A little ring box I made for somebody in the family.
A lot of people in my family out there.
Everybody who gets married in the family, I make a little ring box.
I got a famous.
Put some shagreen in the bottom. These are the slip pipe.
Elizabeth.
Okay, Elizabeth. I have a box similar to this upstairs. A little bit different, but it's the same principle of the 8 degrees. That's the angle cut here going into the box. There's one upstairs. Mopani. Mopani is great wood. Sure, it takes the cuts beautiful.
What's the finish?
Wax. Yeah, and partly the wax. I put it on and wipe it off. I call this blossom box because it's kind of like a flower blossoming. It's all done on the rose engine, and it has an 8-degree angle cut for the lid to fit in.
There you go.
There she goes.
I got you.
This is the kitty flip-top box, so the lid fit either way. You can put the kitty up. You can see the one on the bottom left. It looks like a kitty, sort of. But if you flip it over, I put this boxwood and pink ivory on the inside. But you can flip it so that the lid could go either way.
So is it a tapered 8-degree angle?
Very little taper. But it went in this way, and then you can flip it over and put it the other way. When you're doing multi-layered, they have to be perfect, or else it won't come out looking good. And your glue joints, no bubbles, no runs, nothing. So that's a separate issue, and that's the same issue on the inside here. And then I had to design this rosette. I call that a flying bat. And this one was the kitty. Not that it's a kitty, it's just what I named it. That's just a flower burst. But it's everything's time consuming. And then you're turning all the sides. The thing I didn't like about this box was the sides. I didn't give it too much thought, I was tired and I just finished it with a cheap boom, 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 boom. But I got good money for it. I sold that one for $1,100. So. Yeah.
Did you get a measure like different layers, and then you're just cutting through the layers to expose the color?
Correct. The bottom, no. Those are like the samples you see in the back in the Blackwood. It's just the way it's photographed. I'm bringing the light in this way so it amplifies the pattern. And it looks nicer than maybe it really is. That's what we want to do. Some of the pictures, but the time-consuming is making multi-layers, if anybody's done it. That's where you have to create the layer, 2 layers of perfect flat. And then it's got to be that way on the rose engine also. So when you cut through, if it's off, it's off. So it's the preparation sometimes with ornamental turning and the process. You have to love doing it. It's my hobby, and it's my escapism. And we all escape to something, right? I'm not doing the drugs, so that's a good thing. Another one of the 8 degrees, but this one I'm using a glass and metal bead for the finial. The one upstairs is similar to this one, but it has a toggle nut. I made this one in 2014, and it's polymer clay on the lid, and all the little dots are miniature pieces of polymer clay, and I called it homage to sushi because they're little sushi pieces, like. And I drilled little holes and glued them in. And it's a beautiful box, and it ended up in some magazine. Couple of new. I just made these. The one on the left, it's a little pear base, and I made that little stand for it. And it just kind of, I liked it. It has a little spiral on it, a little rose engine. And the one on the right, the bottom's done on the fixed tool, and then the Boyner burl and the little finials. I like them. Little miniatures. This is my workhorse. This is the one I make most of my stuff with. It's an old Rockwell. It's beat up. It's tired. It's got glue. I'm not going to do anything to it. You can see some of my chucks there and a few of my tools. I have lots of tools. And they all have to do something special with. This is my machine lathe that I use occasionally. It's made in Austria. It's an Emco lathe, and I have every accessory that just about that goes with it except for the milling attachment. It's a very good lathe, and the background's a little inspiration. This is my Holtz apple as it sits now. The overhead is 2 motors. One drives the slide. And the slide has been replaced with an automatic or semi-automatic Evans lathe slide rest. And this is the Mark I, which is that's the first one that Fred made. He made 2 of them. I think it took him 5 years to do it. I think 5 years, something like that. I bought this as a working investment. I bought another lathe, and I'm supposed to sell it back to Fred if I get tired of it, but hasn't happened. I have this is the EM machine, Ritual Musterman, which is a little bit different. It's polycarbonate. Looks like maybe a window, but it's quite different, and it works really good. If you take measurements off of this, it's more accurate than all my machines put together. It could be because he was an engineer. Whoops, that was a bird's eye view looking down at it, and it's clean there. And I try to keep all my machines clean. They have dust covers, and it goes on all the time. static guard. I use this on my vacuum systems. I spray the hoses. That way I have my hoses go right up to the piece so the dust comes right out, and it usually collects a lot. If you spray this stuff on there, it won't, it cuts a lot of it away. There's a clear wood finish I use, and then I use kiwi shoe polish, natural, with a real shoe brush, and it works great. Now I wipe off some of that clear lacquer. I don't leave it on. I wipe it off after I get it on. These are some polishes I use, some red ones and a black one. This is when I'm done with my toothbrush, I use it on the lathe. For cleaning some of those fine cuts, I use regular toothbrushes and other brushes, but this one works pretty good. There's a few of my buffing tools, a couple of my buffers. I have another one. Some of the pictures where my work ended up, which I'm happy about that, but a lot of these companies are no longer. Woodwork and Del Monte, they're gone. Fine woodwork is still around. Here's an award I won in 1996. I won the Joat Medal. I was the first American to win that award. This picture me with the president. I did this bracelet box and ended up on the cover of American Woodworker. Wood Turner. That's right. Very nice. These are some of the AAW awards that I won, and the ACC and the Philadelphia Museum of Art. And that's in the Los Angeles Contemporary Museum of Art. And that puppy's in the Smithsonian forevermore. And we'll never see it again. Except I'm still going to make some sawdust. And that's it, I think. Okay. So that's my hobby and what I've done with a good portion of my life, and she has supported me all the way.